Realization on the mastery. The true meaning of utilizing all afflictions as matters of benefit.
Hello everyone and welcome to today's breakdown. Today we are going to talk about something extremely special. When you think of Buddha's wisdom, your first reaction might be that it's full of a sense of mystery. Right, but in fact, it is intensely rational, so much so that it can be called a precise science. Today, based on profound insights shared by the Buddhist Society of Western Australia, we are going to hardcore dissect this ancient wisdom. You will be astonished to discover that these philosophies, passed down for thousands of years, actually provide modern people with an extremely scientific and remarkably useful methodology for dealing with all kinds of daily anxieties and struggles. Ready to append your perceptions? Let's dive right in. Before we get into the main topic, I want to ask everyone a soul-searching question. Have you ever wondered why we human beings always find ourselves jumping into the exact same pit over and over again? Clearly, many times we know crystal clear in our hearts that doing something is a bad idea. Yet when the moment of truth arrives, we still make the exact same painful choice. Whether it is late-night binge eating that we simply cannot control, or blowing up in anger over and over again within an intimate relationship, we seem destined to repeat history. What on earth is the operating mechanism behind all of this? To unlock this mystery, the insights from the Buddhist Society of Western Australia cite a startling sentence from the Malvape. Yulia Masanavtayastra, the Great Collection Sutra, utilize all afflictions as matters of benefit. Literal meaning: take all your troubles, your sufferings, and even the deepest flaws in your personality, and use them directly as tools to benefit yourself. Doesn't this sound completely counterintuitive? Normally, when we encounter trouble, we run away from it as fast as we can. Yet this throws down an extraordinarily radical perspective. The headaches and troubles in your life are precisely the premier tools for gaining maximum benefit. To thoroughly comprehend this disruptive philosophy, let's break it down today using this roadmap. First, what is true realization and mastery? Second, how do you achieve knowing the what alongside knowing the why? Third, how on earth do afflictions transform into Bodhi enlightenment? Fourth, why are all sentient beings essentially lab rats? And finally, helping you take off that distorted reality lens of karma, the laughing mirror. Alright, let us look at the first part. Part E, what is true realization and mastery? It is by no means some kind of mysticism, but rather a very pragmatic skill. When many people hear the words MD, realization attainment, their minds might conjure up the mysterious image of a wise master meditating in a cave. In reality, it is nothing like that. In the Maharashtra, this term is broken down with extreme precision. Realization is very simple. It means seeing things as they are. That is, seeing the true nature of things without any prejudice and without slapping any labels on them. This is knowing the what and knowing what something is. Mastery means wisdom and complete mastery, implying that not only do you see it, but you have thoroughly figured out its underlying operating laws and can pilot it entirely at will. This is knowing the why, figuring out the mechanics behind it. Part R, knowing the what vs. knowing the why. Now let us dive deeper into the gap between merely observing a phenomenon and truly grasping its underlying laws. Let us use a great modern analogy. Imagine there is a computer keyboard in front of you. You see the keyboard, and you know that pressing a key makes letters appear on the screen. This is seeing as it is a realization. However, if all you can do is sit there hammering away at random without producing any useful output, it means you completely lack mastery. What is true mastery? It is like a seasoned software engineer who not only knows that the keyboard types words, but is proficient in the underlying software logic. They can strike the keys at will to write incredibly complex code and achieve any function they desire. That kind of free, unobstructed control is what mastery is. Put together, they form complete realization and mastery. Once you understand this, let's look at the third part. Part 3, how do afflictions transform into Bodhi? This is a massive cognitive paradigm shift. Afflictions are Bodhi. Everyone has heard this phrase, but it is frequently severely misunderstood. Many people pretend to understand when they don't, thinking since afflictions are Bodhi, I might as well indulge in greed and throw tantrums to my heart's content that must be awakening. That is a colossal mistake. There is a shocking truth that must be clarified here. This is absolutely not telling you to indulge your bad habits. On the contrary, It means you can treat your own afflictions as research subjects in a scientific experiment. Only when you place your afflictions under a microscope, observing and dissecting them with rigorous logic, can they truly become premier tools for awakening your wisdom. So, that brings us to the question. Part C. Why should we treat all sentient beings as lab rats? How should we practically conduct this experiment in our daily lives? The answer is intensely hardcore. You must observe like a cold and feeling scientist. Let's take an extremely realistic example looking at a sugar diabetes experiment. Suppose you see someone constantly binge eating sweets and high-carb foods day after day. As an observer, instead of rushing to judge them, you simply verify the pattern. Craving high sugar leads to severe calorie intake oversupply, which subsequently triggers diabetes, and ultimately can even result in organ failure. This is a precise verification of the rule that greed brings suffering. The bait on a fish hook may look delicious, but swallowing it costs you your life. By cold-bloodedly watching this disaster unfold through these hard, objective facts, you are utilizing someone else's affliction to achieve your own awakening. This actually reveals a core principle. True wisdom is acting as a bystander to observe the entire experimental process, rather than having to step onto the court yourself and be that lab rat. Think about it. A wise person watches someone else binge on sugar and end up in the ICU, and instantly understands it completely. That realization gets permanently etched into their mind. They have absolutely no need to eat themselves into chronic illness just to prove the point right. Not eating the losses that others have eaten, not falling into the bad luck that others have fallen into. That is how you utilize other people's afflictions in daily life to gain the ultimate benefit for yourself. Part 2. Take off your karmic laughing mirror. You might ask, since other people's lessons play out every single day, why do we still frequently turn a blind eye and insist on crashing headfirst into walls ourselves? The reason lies in 4 words: karmic projection. Popularly speaking, it means we completely fail to see things as they are. The so-called reality we perceive on a daily basis is actually a product heavily filtered and distorted by our past experiences, habits, emotions, and biases. We slap labels on people and set rules based entirely on our own preferences. You think you are seeing the truth, but in reality, it's just an illusion heavily stained by your cognitive filter. Regarding this, the insights from the Buddhist Society of Western Australia share a vivid metaphor. It is as if every one of us is wearing a pair of glasses that is not only tinted with color, but also severely warps everything. A tall person looks short through it, a thin person looks fat. When you judge others through this warped lens, the original truth of the facts has long since been distorted. Imagine 2 people completely devoid of wisdom arguing with each other. I say go east. You insist on going west. Face is red with fury. What are they actually doing at its core? They're just 2 distorted mirrors colliding with each other. They aren't solving a problem at all. They are competing over whose afflictions weigh more. This only produces endless, zero-sum exhaustion. Therefore, we must leap out of this meaningless swamp. The core is simply this: fools repeat the exact same suffering lifetime after lifetime. They can take eBay losses, yuan losses, and still fail to remember. Meanwhile, the wise person, the very first time they calmly observe a pattern, learns all the wisdom there is to learn. We must stop playing the role of the mindless, drifting fool, and start using objective laws and wisdom to reanalyze the world around us. Conclusion. Alright, up to this point, we have thoroughly disassembled the operating mechanisms behind wisdom and affliction. Now, the choice is handed back to you. Next time you face temptation, argument, or trouble in your life, do you plan to remain a cold bystander extracting wisdom from the experiment like a brilliant scientist, or will you still let your impulses take the wheel, throwing yourself headfirst into continue playing that miserable lab rat? Take this question into your life today and test it out. Thank you for watching this breakdown. See you next time.